You're listening to The Invisible Addiction, a podcast investigating problem gambling.
I didn't want to go to training, but I still needed that adrenaline buzz. I still needed that something that was going to give me that, because that's all I'd had all my life. You know, in football, once football stopped giving it me, I needed to find it elsewhere. The bounce back's always sweeter. I always say that, you know, the dark days are hard, but when you bounce back, it's always sweeter. And again, I'm proof of that. You know, I couldn't be happier. So, yeah.
Okay, so joining us on the other end of the line today is Ben Markall. He's a former professional footballer with Stoke City and Burton Albion among his previous clubs. He now owns his own football coaching business, Premier Progress, and works as a football intermediary for Paramount Sports Management, run by former Portsmouth and Derby professional footballer and Jamaican international Daryl Powell. He's also recently become programmes facilitator for Epic Risk Management. I'm hugely excited he's given up his time today to share his gambling addiction story with us. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Mr. Ben Markall. How you doing, Ben?
Hi there, mate. How are you? You okay?
Yeah, good. Very good. For the listeners' benefit, this is the second time that we've done this, isn't it?
It is.
The podcast. So
it is second time lucky, mate. I'm sure. Second time. Yeah.
What is it? First the worst, second the best. The one with the hairy chest, something like that. So look, Ben, we're gonna have a bit more of a conversation as opposed to kind of a strict interview today. Just really interested to hear your story, and especially about the football. I know a lot of my listeners, myself included, selfishly, will be really interested to hear your footballing journey. So, I think that seems a sensible place to start. Do you want to kind of kick us off how your footballing journey began?
Yeah, no problem, mate. So football really has been a massive part of my life since probably the age of 3, really, growing up. Based in Birmingham, I'm a Aston Villa fan myself. So as a young lad growing up, me and my brother with my father used to go down to the Villa every weekend. And I started to play football solely because my brother did. Used to play with him every single day of the week, and he was older than me and my brother himself, so he's 3 years older. So I used to play with him and his friends. So I guess that gave me a great stability and foundation to build on, because I was playing with kids 3 years older than me. So throughout my whole childhood, I was always playing above my age group until I got to around probably 9, 10. I think my father then started to realise that I probably had a lot of potential. So he took me to a very famous club within Birmingham called Shenley Radford, when a lot of players have come through Shenley Radford to go on to be successful within the game. And I signed there. And to be honest, I was only there for, I think, 2 years before I signed for Cheltenham Town, which at the time was League One. I signed for Cheltenham. I think it was a 2-year contract, but within the first 12 months, I subsequently went to Stoke City and was actually the most expensive, reportedly the most expensive 14-year-old in the country at the time. And I signed a contract with Stoke for 4 or 5 years, and really enjoyed it there. It was a great time. And during my time there, I kind of got the kind of cold feet, is that the right terminology, and started to wonder what it was like at other football clubs, wonder what opportunity I'd get moving elsewhere. And at the age of, I think it was 15, tried to force a move out of Stoke. 15 or 16, tried to force a move out of Stoke after some wrong advice and representation, I'd guess. And actually was going to sign for Birmingham City. However, the deal fell through and I had to return to Stoke. And then from there, I really had to just sit out my contract, which I did. When on the last day of my contract, they said they wasn't going to renew, which I was pretty much 99% sure of anyway at the whole time when I was sat there, towards the end anyway. And then that found me in May time of the summer. I think it was 2016 or 2017. That summer without a football club, didn't know what to do, so didn't know where to turn. But luckily, someone at Stoke had passed my details on to Burton Albion, and a gentleman called Gareth Holmes contacted my father and said, would Ben be interested in coming down? I met with him and Mike Whitlow and played. But we actually played Birmingham City on the day. I played very well, and to be honest, they offered me a contract for 2 years at Burton, which I did. Faced some difficult times from personal perspectives from there, but then found myself at Solihull Moors after that.
Fantastic. I mean, so many questions to ask. So, the first one is: am I right in saying there was a Ron Atkinson's tale about a taxi driver or something that got you a trial? I can't remember how that went.
So that's basically how I got into Cheltenham Town, my very first club. I was playing for Shenley Radford. There was a lad there that was also playing for Shenley Radford with me. And his father was actually a taxi driver for Ron Atkinson. And Ron Atkinson got the lad that I played with a trial at Cheltenham. And he basically said, we've got a good player here, could we bring him along? And they somewhat agreed to it, which was very fortunate for me. I actually went along and got signed, and my friend didn't actually get signed, so it was a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, I was going to say he's a bit of a legend. I don't know if you've seen. I remember watching Big Ron, Football Manager.
Bigger. Yeah, he actually, another thing, he literally lives probably a stone throw from a house. So
really,
he plays golf at the local golf course that I play at. So I see him quite a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, was it? I think it was at Peterborough, and it's like again for the listeners' benefit if you've not seen it, but it's a brilliant documentary. I think it's on YouTube, and it's literally like fly on the wall stuff. It was way before the whole Sunderland till I die sort of thing.
Come on, he's a legend in the game, a big legend.
Yeah, it's good. And so I mean, you moved to Stoke City, £70,000. Am I right in saying it was that much?
Correct.
Wow, £70,000 at 14 years old. I mean, how did that play out? Because I mean, well, how did that feel? £70,000 at that young age.
Yeah, to be honest, my family wouldn't have never have let it go. I was quite grounded. I didn't really look at anything, listen to anything. I think it was only when I probably got a bit older that I believed that I started realising what that meant. When I was younger, I kind of just continued playing football. It didn't really mean nothing to me. I think, if anything, that period of time was probably the best I've ever played in my whole life. I think it gave me a lease of confidence and that sense of belief in someone wanting you, which is what I guess when I'm 4 years down the line at Stoke, when you kind of become stale and you've been there for a long time, I guess that's what I was reaching out for again when I tried to push a move through. That feeling of being wanted and wanting to go on and someone actually wanting you. It's such a great feeling, and a feeling that you can't really explain, to be honest.
Yeah, and am I right in saying you're striker?
Oh well, yeah, I was certainly. If I'm going a bit further back in position with age, but yeah, striker.
Where are you playing now, in goal?
In goal. Wow. Yeah, to be honest, that's on the bench, not even playing.
That's good. And when you're at Stoke City, so am I right in saying Tony Pulis has left by this point, and then you've got
no. Tony Pulis was still there, and then it was Hughes after.
Oh, there we go. Terrible research. And again, just looking through lists of players, you've got, I mean, Michael Owen, was he there at the time? I'm just going to list them off. Just like Ryan Shawcross, Jermaine Pennant, Ricardo Fuller, Rory Delap, Dean Whitehead, Matthew Etherington, Robert Huth, Amir Bekovic, who's at Michael at Bournemouth now. Ida Good Johnson, was he there?
No.
Okay.
No. Wow. He may have. No.
And then go on. I've got two more on my list: John Carew and Kenwyn Jones.
John Carew, no. Kenwyn Jones, yeah.
Oh, brilliant! What was it like being around? I mean, were you near the first team? Did you get to train with them?
So
and stuff like that?
we used to. Yeah. So to be honest, that was probably the to this day I say the best player. Obviously not played directly with, but the best player I've been in presence with was Michael Owen for sure. Just even sharing a training pitch and a kind of a keep ball session and a formation session. What am I about? Yeah, it was just, that's probably the best player I've shared a pitch with a shape session or a keep ball session. Yeah, it's Michael Owen. So for me, it's a great experience, one I'll never forget. Wasn't really around them day in day out at all, but when was called upon for stuff like shape, keep ball, then obviously the opportunity come. So yeah, it was a good experience. But obviously shared the gym. Clayton Woods was a new facility, which was state of the art. We all used the same physio room, the same gym. So it was around them. It was just they got changed at one side, we was the other. But it was the same building. So yeah, same canteen. It was a great environment.
That's class. That's absolutely class. Yeah, I mean, Michael Owen, absolute hero. I mean, I always remember that goal when he scored against, Argentina. Back in, when he, 18? He was 17, 18 at the time.
Correct.
Unbelievable. I remember just saying to my dad just beforehand, I went, "Oh, Beckham's." I remember saying, "Oh, Beckham's not having a good game," and then I think he laced it in, whatever. But yeah,
crazy times.
Unbelievable. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, for me, myself, I got released at 16. I was at Oxford United for many years, and I got released at 16 and had a massive feeling of like dejection and rejection. A whole lot, sort of like lack of self-worth, loss of confidence, all this kind of carry on. So I'm guessing maybe you would have had the opposite, perhaps, because you've kind of been signed, you've been the wanted man, most expensive 14-year-old. I guess you're getting treated well and things like that. So what was the kind of the sliding point? I mean, like you say, there was misrepresentation and stuff like that. I mean, was that because you felt that you could go to a different club, or was it literally just on the whole, like, well, I don't feel wanted and, I want to go on?
I think it was that. I think, at one stage, Stoke actually called my father in and said, like, who's representing me? Because you're not meant to be represented until 16. At the time, I was still younger than that. And they called my father in and said, who's representing Ben? Because we've never had so many inquiries on a 15-year-old in the whole time we've been here. So at the time, there were so many people interested in my availability that it really did. It shifted my. It took my eyesight off. I'm trying to use the right figure of speech, but for instance, someone just took my eyesight off the ball, and that's probably what it was. You start looking elsewhere, don't you? And that's the problem. It's like anything in life, when people are always looking, especially in today's society, you're always looking at something else and what someone else has got. And for me, I just started thinking, God, I could go and get this, or I could get better here. And that's probably the only thing that swayed it, was probably my own personal attitude, not necessarily my own ability. It was more the fact that, because these clubs were interested, it did. I'm trying to think of the right term. It did. It like took my, grabbed my attention effectively, and I wasn't concentrating at Stoke then, which starts making me my game and performance go down.
Did you feel a lot of pressure when you're at Stoke?
Not really. No, I wouldn't say pressure. I wouldn't say pressure is the right word. I think probably I probably thought my worth was probably more than I was getting treated for at times. Like I was seeing other clubs, and I probably knew what I could get elsewhere, and that's probably why I was trying to force through things, because football's a small world, and we all talk within the game and still do, and for me, I was kind of my eyesight, as I said, I was just hearing about what other people were doing, seeing, and I knew what my performance was like, and I knew that other clubs were interested in me. So I just kind of thought, this, what am I doing? I'm wasting time. Whereas I should have just kept my head down and worked hard and let all the stuff like that go on behind the closed doors and just concentrate on football. But it's easier said than done.
Yeah, for sure. So So you moved on to Burton Albion. Again, because terrible research from me, but Burton Albion, I'm trying to think who would have been the manager. Would it have been Nigel Clough around that time, or?
No, so when I signed, it was Paul Pescaslido.
Oh, of course, right.
When I signed, and then obviously moved on with time. Obviously Gary Rowett went in there, and Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank as well. So again, some great names, but yeah, that's probably when I really started struggling, and I just didn't adapt to the life at all, because obviously Stoke was very much an elite football club, should we say. It was, the state-of-the-art facilities. When I was there, European football club for a period of time, certainly a Premier League football club for the majority of the time I was there. In fact, for the whole time I was there, I think. And going to Burton was just a whole new world, and one that I just didn't adapt to. We got changed in facilities called Marston's, which is a working men's club, the brewery, with holes in the ceiling, rain coming through. We had one physio, no sports scientist, nothing. No, we had to get our own packed lunch before training. We'd had to get our own way to training and back, and people may be listening thinking that's just normal, but when you come from an elite football club where everything's done for you, to adapt to that at a young age, it's very difficult, and it made me question wanting to play football at all, which then obviously put me into a shell and obviously took me to my addiction.
Sure. I think so. Yeah, I mean, in terms of was the gambling something that you started then, or was it something that you'd always done as a kid, or how did you get into it?
No, so I've always been around it in relation to family. I've always had a bet, and I think I touched upon this last time. I don't think there's anything wrong with gambling. So I'm not here to say that you shouldn't be in society, because I'm not. I do think there is things that are wrong with it. What I'm trying to say is that I don't think it should be banned and never be done again, because there is a place for it in society. There's just people sometimes mismanage that. So for me, myself, I've been around it, but obviously started when I was at Burton.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've been doing some vlogging recently, and I think I touched upon some, how I got into it and stuff. And for me, it was you can wind it back. I wouldn't say I had an addiction because I was going to arcades as a kid or whatever, but the old 2p machines and the old, that kind of thing. And it was pretty crazy. We went over to Ireland for a family holiday. We went to Cork, and it's just crazy. As kids, we were literally allowed to bet at the tote, down and queue up and take bets and stuff. Just different cultures and stuff like that. But yeah, pretty mad, really. And then I got into football bet. I'm from a place called Newbury, which is famous for the horse track. So that was kind of a big thing. And then got into the bookies and stuff for football accumulators, because he played football, albeit at youth level, but to a high standard. And I used to think that I had some sort of insider knowledge. So I'd be like, right, yeah, I've got this down. And I'd be
we
rubbish.
all do. We've all done that, But,
absolutely rubbish.
But yeah. So as I say, I started it when I was at Burton. I think it was more of a place. It was more a bit of security. I know that sounds weird, but I mean, I felt secure once doing it, which is very strange, I know. But that's the only thing I could say. I didn't want to reach out to anyone about the problems I was suffering mentally with moving to Burton, because I was still living every boy's dream, because it is many boys' dreams and many lads' dreams. So I didn't want to reach out to family. If I did, I'll come from a very old school family, so it'd be roll your sleeves up, get on with it. There's nothing wrong with you, and that's been the way I've been brought up. So for me, it was always difficult to reach out. I didn't know who to talk to. Obviously, when you're at the highs, everyone wants to be your friend and wants to know you. Agents, everyone, scouts, football clubs, families, friends, and then when you go crashing down, you're on your own, and that's why I think football is a very, very, very sad world that we live in, because especially in the football industry, because when you are on the highs, everyone wants to know you, but when that comes crashing down, you're all on your own. And can you have you got that sustainability and strength to really to kick on again? And some people don't have that. Some people do. Obviously, I was unfortunate not to have that. Some people will be able to go again and it make them stronger. And for me, it just made me crumble and obviously turned me to gambling.
For sure. That's really interesting to hear, mate. Really, really interesting, because I think statistically they say like professional sports players, particularly footballers, like maybe 3 times more likely to be, it might be even 4, but I think about 3 times more likely to be problem gamblers, or have problems with their addictions and stuff. So
yeah, I don't,
yeah,
it's rife, and I'm not to say that, like I've said, there's probably people out there that can do it and do it and control it, but it's that problem when it gives you that security like it did with me. I'd rather be there than training, because it would give me the same buzz, but I wouldn't feel like I was feeling, which is, I didn't want to go to training, but I still needed that adrenaline buzz. I still needed that something that was going to give me that, because that's all I'd had all my life. And once football stopped giving it me, I needed to find it elsewhere. I would never have done drugs. I would never have drank, because I always knew that my career needed me to not do them things. So the things that I could do was, and that no one would know about, is gambling, and that gave me that same adrenaline and that same kick that I guess for some people would be a Class A drugs, or would be 25 pints a night. For me, I didn't need that. That wouldn't have, I didn't want to do that, because I knew my career, everyone would find out. So for me, it was more of a gambling, and then in the end, you can't hide it. So
No.
it comes out eventually. So the sooner people realise it and get help, the better, because eventually you can't hide it. No,
for sure. I mean, what sort of betting were you doing? Was it in the bookies? Was it online?
Yeah,
was it like that kind of thing?
Really, it was just the bookies. Not going to say I haven't done online betting. That would be a lie. Of course, I did, but it was majority was in the bookies. Never really a casino man. I think I've been once in my life, maybe twice maximum. I'm not for me. So yeah, it was more in the bookies, really.
Yeah, I can relate to a lot of what you said in terms of the whole getting a buzz, finding it. It was just like your thing. You could be independent. I actually quite enjoyed the loneliness of it at first. I kind of liked it, because it was just like, well, it's my thing. I'm doing it for myself. I'm not around anyone else. It was kind of like a new hobby, as it were, that I thought I could get good at. And then I got into the roulette machine, and that was just the end of me, really.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they're bad. Them fixed odds machines. I'm just very good that they've stopped them all, isn't it? Or at least put a hold on them at some sort.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, can you talk us through your routine? I mean, was it like, as I say, just not go to training at all, or was it like go to training for a bit and then head to the bookies? What was a kind of day-to-day life like?
Again, it varied. So like at the start, to be honest, it was really, I think Burton made my gambling get worse effectively, because I didn't enjoy going to football. So I'd think of something to say. It wasn't necessarily that I needed to go and have a bet. It was I wasn't enjoying my time at football, but I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to go about that. So, there'd be occasions I'd say, at the time I wasn't driving, so I've missed the train, or the train hasn't come, or there'd be times that I'd call in, I was sick, or the excuses were endless, and I'm sure we've all made them, and I'm not proud of it, and I'm not, it's not something that I if it was my child, I wouldn't be proud of them, and it's not something that I condone. But for me, it was a case of that's what I did, and there were times I'd fake an injury, and to be honest, just because I didn't want to go, and then because I didn't want to go, I found myself with an awful lot of time, and that time wasn't going to be spent any other way than the only thing that I thought let's do was gambling, and that wasn't because I felt a need to gamble necessarily. It was because I had so much time and I was bored, but I didn't want to go to football because I wasn't enjoying it. So I was in a catch-22, and yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Which is, some people would think it's mad, yeah.
No, I mean, it's just crazy, as in, like, it's just how it can just get a hold of you, and it doesn't discriminate, and it can be, men, women, young, old, and like you say, it's the boredom thing. Boredom always got me. If I was bored, I'd just turn to it and stuff like that. And yeah, that was a big one for me. I mean, did anyone have any inkling at this point from the club? Did they kind of notice anything was up?
That's where I probably, I'm not going to. It's no one's fault. It's only mine, and but that's probably where I do feel that football clubs probably lack a little bit, and I think they're probably getting to terms with it now and getting to grips with it. But at the time, I think only, like, we've got to remember, over the last couple of years, that mental health's really been a push, which is a good thing, and people are starting to talk about it, which is great. But I think you can tie gambling in with mental health, really, in some aspects. That people kind of spoke about it to tick a box, but it was never a thing where you'd have like a check-in. How are you? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Like, there was times, as I say, that I called up and I didn't turn up, or there was just many things that had opportunity to raise, that could have raised concern, that was pretty much overlooked. So for me, that would probably be the only thing that I would have said, would be that it could have been different, but it wasn't, and it's not meant to be, and everything happens for a reason. And I look back on it now and with regret, massively with regret, but also knowing that it happens for a reason, and I can't regret anything. We just got to try and help the next generation. But for sure, I think it could have been stopped at its root, really.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're still. How old are you now, Ben? Are you
25?
25. So, yeah. Time is on your side. You can always pick it back up.
I think you lose. I've lost the kind of love for it, I guess, in playing in a playing format, I guess now. Solely just because I think it does. There's something that brings back memories. As much as I love football, there's that side of it that just brings back them kind of dark days. So it's kind of wrapped up for me now, I think, the playing side, and just try and stick to the business side of the game now.
Yeah, sure. We'll come on to that in a minute, but I'm just really interested in, certainly for like our listeners and stuff, but how did you kind of get help? When did you recognise it was a problem, and how did you kind of stop? And that kind of thing, really.
Yeah, so I started a normal job, like just a normal working class job sort of thing. I was working at Land Rover, selling cars, and I remember one Sunday morning, I was only there for I think 6 months, if that. And I remember the one Sunday morning, I looked in the mirror. It was in the disabled toilets. I can remember it like it was just enough. I thought, what on earth am I doing? I thought, not even 6 years ago, I was playing football day in, day out, being the most expensive 14-year-old, and with the world at my feet. And now I'm not playing football. I'm overweight. I'm unhappy. I'm gambling every day. What's going on? And it was at that point I thought, I've got to get help. Like, I just, and I never meant it in a regard that I needed help. I knew that I needed help gambling, but I thought I just need help in life. Like, where's this gone wrong? I need to talk to someone. I've got to get something off my chest, because this isn't. I just didn't feel right. So literally the day after, on the Monday, I called the Professional Footballers Association, and basically just pleaded. I said, look, I need to see someone. Something's not right. And to be honest, I think they called me back on the Tuesday. I think on the Wednesday I went to see someone at Sporting Chance. And to be honest, I've been using them ever since. And I'll get on with the gentleman, the guy that helped me. And to this day, I think I say to him every time, he's changed my life, turned my life upside down and changed it. And that's not necessarily he's done anything apart from his job, but just made me think of things differently, made me see things in a new light. And I can't thank them enough, to be honest.
That's absolutely brilliant. Was it like kind of like a mentoring thing? Was it to do with this, like maybe mental health or
it was solely
just general guidance, or?
Yeah, it was just, I think, it wasn't no mentor. It was just make it like, it's just made me see life in a different light. Like everything that everything that I was doing before had an impact on the way I was feeling, and it all comes, there's the root cause probably, well, not probably, is gambling, of course. The root cause is, but he made me think of everything around it that was making me gamble. Like, why did I gamble? And I was sat at work all day, not happy. So that there is a root to my gambling, because I was doing something I was unhappy with. I wasn't enjoying it, so there's a root. I was, outside of that, relationships, family, like, who are the people that you've got around you? How are they pushing you? What are they making you see? And that made me, cut a lot of people off and made me think of that as well, and make decisions that probably I'm only young, so I was still living with my mum, but at the time things were difficult, and so I took myself out of the situation and I moved across to live with my dad for a bit, but them things I wouldn't have done before. I'd have just stayed in toxic areas where I've obviously created problems, but I'd stay in the problems and just think it will work out rather than actually doing something about it. For instance, my job, I'd have stayed there because I thought, oh, it's a good job, it looks good, but I was never happy. So, all I was doing was bringing money to the table to fund an addiction, and that's what it was. And I didn't ever see it like that. I seen it as, oh, I was doing a job, it was good. And the moment I started, that light bulb clicked, everything changed. And like I've said, it just shows you that one good thing, I'm literally living proof that if you do go through the bad times and you get over it, one good thing will lead on to many. And it's been about 7 months, I think. I was there in February. I spoke to them in February, March time. It's now November, and honestly, from the hand of my heart, my life's just turned upside down from it. So it's crazy.
That's absolutely amazing. I totally agree about just changing the mindset. I think for so long, I don't know if you can relate, but for myself with the gambling, it was just like, just felt in a kind of at the bottom of a well and just like unable to kind of climb the ladder to get out, sort of thing. And and then as soon as you it's not like as soon as you stop, everything's better, but you can actually sort of see into the future and plan things and kind of move forward with your life, as opposed to sort of being stuck.
I think you're right. I think, where like I've had days like that. I went to the guy that I see all the time every week, and I see him only a few months. I've gone back down. I'm feeling like this, and then we start talking, and then things got better. And there's always going to be bad days, but the one thing for sure is, like, a negative mental state of mind breeds, and the more you stay within that mind, I'm not like a preacher, and I'm not saying like I'm some sort of mental health specialist. I'm certainly not. But all I know is that, if you're happy and you're content and you're working and doing something that you enjoy, then things will just naturally become better. And it only comes from within, like I've said to you before. No one could have changed me. Just something in my head. I don't know what. I guess it was the fact of being an almighty low and not knowing where to turn from there. I wasn't happy in the relationship I was in. I wasn't happy with the job I was doing. I wasn't seeing any financial gain. I was just seeing, necessarily just paying for previous debts that I'd have, and then nothing for myself. I was thinking, like, what is this life? Like, this isn't what, I had planned for my future, and no football involved. And I was thinking, just, and for me, people are at different stages of their addictions, and some people turn to the edge of a cliff and want to throw themselves off. And I was fortunate to never, ever get to that stage, and just to feel that inside I knew that was enough. It was enough now. Like, I'm not happy. Like, this isn't me. This isn't what I planned for my future and my life. And so I need to change. And thank goodness gracious me, I did. So yeah.
It's marvellous. I can relate to what you just said in terms of, like, just thinking, I don't want to do this anymore. It was last year, 2019, back the summer. I'd split up with my girlfriend again because of, I won't go into it, but, gambling was at the root of that. And and then was living with my mate in London and was still gambling. I was self-excluded from casinos, but still gambling in bookies, still gambling online. That was where I started to do it. And I was just accruing like massive losses. I'd lost a business that I'd run because that just wound down, and I just stopped taking interest in that and stopped taking care of it. And that failed. I'd lost, I think, a day's work. I had no money as it was. I had loads of time on my hands. I was just gambling like you wouldn't believe. And it got to a point, and I just thought, what am I doing? What am I actually doing? I think I'd lost loads of money on blackjack within like 20 minutes or how, I can't even remember, but I'd built this balance up, and then I blew the lot, like rapidly. And then I didn't call my girlfriend straight away, but I called her pretty much. And I just thought, babe, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I've just completely wrecked my life. I've wrecked your life. And it's just like, it's unbelievable. But, that probably was my rock bottom, and then trying to build it back up and build the trust and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Correct. And that, listen, we all have different sort of phases, and different stories. That's what not necessarily makes it wonderful, but that's what it's fascinating, because it doesn't discriminate, anyone, whether from sport background, anything, you can have a gambling addiction. It doesn't matter who you are. But I think as long as my personal opinion, as long as you face up to it, people can't judge you for it, just it's part of life, and it's happened, and it's how you bounce back, I guess, which the bounce back's always sweeter. I always say that, the dark days are hard, but when you bounce back, it's always sweeter. And again, I'm proof of that. I couldn't be happier. So yeah.
That's brilliant. I don't know if you feel this, but I certainly feel like, I don't know what's the reaction been like amongst friends and family that maybe have found out and stuff like that. How have you found that side
I think
of things?
everyone's found out. I think the people that are close to it, I think, unbelievably proud. I guess I think they've always known. Everyone's always known, but people. I don't really talk to too many people about it, but you're always going to have people. Even now, you'll have people that are envious of you doing well from it. Like doing something good from it.
Yeah.
If and that's part of life. I don't really take consideration what anyone else feels, as long as I'm grateful for my family. That's what I'm really bothered about. Friends and anyone else that wants to, because you're going to have people that judge you. You're going to have people that have an opinion about it. If I'm totally honest, it matters to me zilch what anyone else thinks. As long as my family, I've put them through hell and back, and as long as they know I appreciate it, and they know that I'm here to try and rectify all my wrongs, then I don't really care what anyone else thinks. And that's not being nasty. It's just me being truthful, because as I've said, there'll be many people that may listen to this that won't, or there'll be people that have seen what I've done and again have an opinion, good or bad, on it. So it doesn't matter to me, mate, to be honest. As long as my family are okay and I'm making them proud, that's all that matters.
100%, mate. 100%. 100%. I hear you. Okay, are you okay for like another 10 minutes or so?
Of course. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, cool. So yeah, obviously Sporting Chance like massively helped you, and 7 months down the line, like you say, fantastic. What opportunities have sprung up then? Can you tell us a bit more about like what you're doing now, and the coaching, the Paramount Sports, the Epic Risk Management? Can you just talk us through?
Yeah, so solely like we just touched upon, I think opportunities come from. There's always opportunity. There's opportunity in difficulty. There's the saying I looked at the other day, and you can either find opportunity in difficulty or difficulty in opportunities. And I think it's such a powerful saying that there is opportunity in these difficult times. And throughout my difficult time, that I looked at it and I thought, what did I need? And I thought I needed someone that I could talk to. How did I need to go about that? And then I thought, as a young person, would I talk to someone and then across the table? No. Well, I probably would have, but would everyone? No. And I thought, I need to sort some sort of mentor kind of coaching business, and throughout lockdown, it absolutely it took off. to be perfectly honest, no bad words about anyone, but my ex-girlfriend actually set the business up for me previously, but wanted me to do it from a different avenue, a different light in relation to doing like stuff in schools and stuff. And the reason I probably never kicked on and did that was because it was probably, again, just not what I wanted to do, and it didn't sit right with me. And throughout lockdown, I was thinking, how do I find ways of getting this up off the ground? And one thing I started obviously speaking to Sporting Chance, and I started realising I've actually got a lot to give, talking and getting out there and speaking and telling my story, and my coaching. Then I started obviously advertising what I was doing, and due to obviously the fact that I've played football and sort of the accolades that I've got along the way, and I'm got my UEFA coaching badges. That slowly just took off, and I think lockdown helped massively with that, because you couldn't do group sessions, but you could do one-on-ones, and it's just word of mouth, isn't it? I've got one person in, and it's absolutely snowballed. I think 60, 70 clients at the minute, and
wow,
I've got someone that's employed for me and works for me coaching, and obviously I'm building a facility at the moment in time, which is my own facility. It's going to have like a mental health and wellbeing classroom in there, and do some work in the community. And so that side of things is really taken off.
Yeah.
I've got an investor on board to help with the facility, of course, but the facility is going to be brilliant. And that all come about, as I say, when I contacted the PFA, I said, I want to get back into the game. Can you help? And they said, well, look, put you to Sporting Chance, but we'll also get you on UEFA coaching badges.
Yeah. So
throughout lockdown, I studied there. I've done many qualifications throughout lockdown. I've done my talent identification badges. I've done throughout lockdown. Really, the first lockdown, I worked till probably 2 o'clock every night, from 9 o'clock in the morning. I really, really did work hard, and that's what the rewards come from that, I guess. Throughout like that, the amount of and the opportunities that are created, and then from there I got offered a position. Well, I also said to obviously the PFA about wanting to do other stuff, so they put me on my UEFA badges, but they also put me on something called the Sports Institute of Barcelona, with them doing a football management and marketing course. And obviously I snapped the hands off and thought, this is a bit of me. Like, this is where, and obviously my boss, Daryl Powell, the owner of Paramount Sports Management, was on the same course. And I'm quite confident and, like to see myself as an approachable person. So I confronted Daryl on one of his questions that he answered, and kind of, we had a bit of a friendly debate about it. And then after the call, I just contacted him straight away and said, look, I'm very much interested in getting into it. What's the situation? And him and his team interviewed me the following week, and then offered me a position working for Paramount, which, has introduced me to some people that I would never have met otherwise. And it's got me into the other side of the game, which is absolutely unbelievable.
What's Ben? Sorry to interrupt. What's that like? I mean, I've always been fascinated with this. Yeah. It's this sort of to demystify it a little bit, because you get kind of, I guess, this football intermediary. I mean, it's like, well, what is he? It's like, I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been difficult due to COVID, so it's restricted what we do, but I've still got a good feel for it, and like I've said, it's the management side, it's the wealth management, it's dealing with the luxury side for the player, it's dealing with the contractual sides, and it's really trying to look after the players' needs in every single way, and not just theirs but their families, and really trying to guide them to not make a decision like I made when I was younger, and that's a big thing for me, to try and have the younger lads coming through and to try and pick out, hopefully pick out the next big thing would be nice along the way. But it's a great opportunity, and I'm absolutely relishing it at the moment. I guess I've got to just hope and pray that COVID can clear off for January, and we can have a a successful year next year. But yeah, a great opportunity and something that I've always wanted to get involved with. Even when I was playing, it did kind of pull my attention. So yeah, it's a great opportunity.
What would you advise a young Ben Markall at 14, 15, 16? What would your advice be?
If you want to know, my true advice would be don't gamble, stay away from girls, don't drink, and just concentrate and enjoy your football. And I think if you give me them advice, that is probably, there's no true word, and I guess it is cliche because it's probably what everyone says, but it's absolutely true. Just concentrate on football and just enjoy your football, because when it's gone, and you don't realise that. You think, shut up, that ain't going to happen to me, but it bloody can. Like it can. I'm again proof in the pudding. I'm only young. These old people saying it, people can look at it and think, oh yeah, but he's old. Like, I'm young, it's happened to me. Do you know what I mean? I'm 25 and I'm not playing, so I'm proof that if you do all them things, you won't play. And I'd much rather be playing now than doing what I'm doing. Let's not get that mixed up in any way, shape, or form.
100%. I think I read an autobiography recently that I think it was Brian Clough. I can't remember, but he said something like they want to figure out that when they sign a new player, they wanted to figure out straight away. He sort of asked the player whether you're like a gambler, a drinker, or womanizer. Sort of thing.
There's so much that goes into it now. It's not just about playing, because off the pitch is just as important. You're representing a football club at the end of the day, and if you've got, you're not got your life sorted out, or you're too involved in the wrong things, then yeah, they're soon no.
Yeah, 100%. So, Ben, before we sort of wrap things up, is there anything else that you wanted to add? I quite happily sit here and just talk to you all day about football and what you're doing and the gambling, and I don't know. I've really enjoyed doing the podcast and speaking to my guests, and genuinely just could keep going and going. But I'm looking at the clock, going, it's about an hour now, so I don't want to kind of take up too much of your time.
No, to be honest, for me, it's just if anyone is struggling, then, please reach out. I'm always here to talk, and I've been there. And I guess just a quick touch upon, obviously, another opportunity that I'll be doing some work with Epic Risk Management, who are in great organisation, tackling addiction, tackling the gambling addictions, and something I'm very much excited to do, and hopefully travel the world doing so. So I just thought I'd touch upon that before we wrap up. But, like I just said previously, if anyone is struggling, then please feel free to reach out. Always happy to help if I can.
100%. And I must add, the guys at Epic are brilliant. I know Andy, he's been brilliant. Andy Margate. I've spoken with Patrick and Paul and Dan as well, Dan Spencer as well. And they're just brilliant people. So, it sounds like you're going to have an absolute ball traveling the world. That's going to be amazing.
Wow. We'll see. We'll see what COVID allows. But yeah, it's a great opportunity, and one I'm looking forward to as well.
Fantastic. Well, Ben, thanks ever so much for your time today, and I've really enjoyed it. So, thank you.
No problem. My pleasure.
It takes a huge amount of bravery to tell your story publicly. So I'd like to say a massive thank you to Ben for his honesty. I could really resonate with the feelings of boredom and unhappiness turning you towards the adrenaline rush of gambling. At the height of an addiction, it's easy to convince yourself that gambling will alleviate your problems. It's not until you reflect back that you realise it had the opposite effect. It's inspiring to hear that Ben is free from gambling and able to move on with his life, with a promising coaching career taken off. I wish him well. So, I'd like to continue the conversation around competitiveness by speaking to a man who's worked in sales. Let's find out in the next episode, when I speak to Nick Craze, founder of Gambling Guard.